Okay, so hello everyone. I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to join, but in the meantime, welcome to Succession Planning and Elections. This is such an important topic when it comes to ensuring smooth transitions between leadership roles, ensuring member involvement, and making sure there's a strong pipeline of future leaders. It takes a lot of planning and intentional steps to make sure it's effective, and I'm excited for us to dive into today. Today I have Eric Modesto Reyes and Anjit Mendez, who are the speakers for this topic today. So I'm so excited to have them join us here. So before we jump into introductions, I just want to go over some few quick guidelines. So if you look on the right side of your screen, you're going to see 4 tabs: chat, Q&A, resources, and survey. If you have any questions throughout the session, please drop them in the Q&A section. We highly encourage you to ask as many questions as you like to Eric and Anjit about the elections and planning. The more the better. I'll be monitoring the Q&A and we'll make sure your questions get answered. So now let's move on to introductions. We'll start with Eric. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your chapter, your university, and your favorite SHIP moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Pues buenos días, buenas tardes. For those of y'all in different time zones, thanks for pulling up to your second day for CCOP, for NELA. A little bit about myself. Like I mentioned, my name is Eric Modesto Reyes. I'm a 5th-year major in electrical computer engineering with a minor in STEM education over at North Carolina State University, Raleigh, North Carolina. Go Pack. Part of Region 7. I've been involved with SHIP for, I think starting in August would be 6 years. So I've been involved for 5 years within the university level and then 1 year in the high school level within the SHIP junior program. So kind of have a good idea. I served as a chapter president last year. And my favorite SHIP moment, that's a great question. I feel like it was the last event last year where we did the SHIP Gala. That was something new we implemented, and it brought everyone together, older members, newer members, and as well alumni and companies together, and just kick off the year, finish up the year very strongly, and create those special moments.
Great, thank you so much. Now I'll move on to Anjit.
Hey everyone, my name is Angie Mendez. I'm a senior studying chemical engineering at NC State. I'm this year's president as well. One of my favorite SHIP memories I can think of is I was in charge of creating this event as a community outreach chair. It was called Shackathon. We had to build a shack on campus, and we were the first Latinx group to do so. And we had to sleep in the shack. We actually had to build the shack with our members and sell things throughout the day to help fundraise money for Habitat for Humanity. So just having everyone come together and see new and old members work together throughout this process was really, really neat to see.
Great, thank you. And I'll just quickly introduce myself. So I'm today's moderator. My name is Maria Rodriguez, and I'm currently a student at USC, and I recently transitioned from being RSR for Region 2 to now being National Board of Directors as your undergraduate member. And I know these roles are completely different, but I think this session really resonates with me because you have to run for these positions and that involves elections. So I'm really excited for this session. Okay, so now we'll dive into our very first question that I have. So we all know that every chapter kind of runs elections a little differently. Can you walk us through how your chapter structures elections and what that process looks like?
Go ahead, Eric, I'll let you answer this one first.
Okay. It's actually funny because we have to finalize this and add it to our constitution. But I know like you mentioned, Maria, like every chapter do things very differently. But for us specifically, we kind of do more like a presentation style election. So that means even before that we do like open e-board meetings. So we have members that are whether they're completely 100% sure, yes, I want to be a part of the e-board next year. Let me see what they're up to. Or you're kind of indecisive, I don't know, maybe I need to be sold with the idea. So we do open e-board meetings. Just kind of give them an idea of how do we operate things behind the scene, how what type of planning we're trying to look for, and also feedbacks as well on the spot. And then once I have an idea, we do an interest meeting. So we kind of go more in depth about each positions. We do more Q&A style for each of the positions. And then we go over the criterias, and then you have to fill up an application. Generally, it's open for 2 weeks, and then after that, we do elections. So elections is in person. There's, like I mentioned before, it's like a presentation style. So you get 5 minutes to present or give everyone an idea of like why you want to be part of the e-board, what type of ideas you're trying to implement, and what's something you want to bring to the table. Because everyone has different skills, have different styles of leadership. So try to sell your idea. And then from there, we do voting. I know other chapters, they do write-ins, which is like you write a piece of paper and then put in the ballot. For us, just to make it easier, we just do it online for 1 or 2 days, and then we'll finalize results and then announce the winners. So unless I missed something, Angie.
You were right on. That's exactly how we do it.
Okay. Thank you for that. And how do you identify potential leaders within your chapter? And what specific qualities do you look for in these individuals?
Okay. So throughout the year, we're always paying attention to people who are constantly showing up to our meetings, showing interest. Not only just go to our meetings, but are also volunteering, are also going to our mixer events, who are putting themselves out there, who really show the familia aspect and show a commitment to our organization, or we're like sharing ideas. We're really showing like leadership qualities and like are open to learning. We have a lot of mentorship opportunities within our organization as well. So having them be a mentor or them being a mentee and just like showing qualities of being able to grow and share that knowledge that they are receiving with others is also very important. Yeah, because we just really just are always like observing and having a lot of opportunities for people to show their leadership qualities. And sometimes we've had in the past people who didn't think they were capable of doing a leadership position. So just encouraging them and saying like, oh, we see something in you that you don't see in yourself. We really think that you should give this a shot. And some of them do, and they do fantastic in the role that they are elected for.
Great, thank you. And I have a quick question before I get to a key question in the chat, but how do you deal with like members who may feel uncertain about running for the position or may feel a little intimidated?
I think that's a great question. I know that happened a few times this year and last year. I think just having like a simple conversation, I think that's very important. Just having a one-on-one conversation, get to know like, you know, how come you're feeling this way, like, and then kind of give them like different perspective. Because sometimes like when you see the position, you're kind of like, man, this is so much work. I'm not sure if I'm capable of it. But then when you like as a peer and as someone who's in the position, like, if you give them their insight, like, hey, it's actually not that bad, and you're honest with them, they'll feel better. They're like, actually, I do feel capable. Like you're empowering them, but also inspiring them at the same time in a way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Having those conversations with someone about, you know, and like making them feel more confident about running, and just, I feel like that can definitely help someone in that moment. But the comment in the question in the Q&A says, could you explain the Shackalon and how you plan it out?
Okay, so NC State, there's this huge event called Shackathon. It's something that the university actually hosts with Habitat for Humanity. So we actually signed up and we attended several meetings. We actually had to buy our own supplies at Home Depot. They give you a plan of what the shack dimensions are supposed to be like a basic one. You're able to deviate from that. But basically, we just applied, we got selected, we attended the meeting. We actually have to pay a certain amount to have our shack at a certain location within campus. So depending on what spot you want, depending on the price. And then we just told our members, we pumped it out on the social media, and we were given a certain day that we had to build our shack, and we had all day to do it. And then that's basically it. It's just something my university hosted. I looked really into it because my members were interested, and we got on board and we went for it.
Great, thank you. And I have another question. So have you ever had a year where you had fewer candidates than expected? And what advice would you give to a chapter who may have this problem?
So yes, we definitely have experienced numbers deviating a lot, especially after convention. We did notice our numbers drop a little bit afterwards. So what we strategically planned was to implement the point system. So depending on certain events that they attend, we give them a certain amount of points, and we just really pay attention to see what members are really active, and we want to award them for that. And due to their participation, we kind of give them a discount when it comes to registration, or we select them for getting paid fully to attend the convention. So we also like to make sure that our fall semester is really constructed around convention. So we host a lot of mentorship, a lot of review resumes, mock interviews. We bring a lot of companies to come in and help us prepare for convention, because we notice that that is the need for fall semester, because a lot of people are applying to jobs, internships. And then for the springtime, we really focus on having those social events to have people kind of relax, enjoy, have a good time. It kind of like balances it out. And we saw that a lot more people were interested in that new balance that we created, and our numbers kind of stayed consistent throughout the year. Eric, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think you said perfectly fine, Angie.
Thank you. I definitely agree. I think national convention and having that as like, something to look forward to for students is something that always like captivates students. So I could definitely agree. And then I feel like a lot of students stay because they, build those friendships and build those connections with members in the chapter. So I think that's really important. I have another question from the Q&A, which says, what other community outreach events does your chapter do besides SHIP Junior and those that are planned with your university?
Okay, great question. Something I'm very passionate about. Let's see, I was very passionate about helping and expanding our SHIP name within the Raleigh area and really expanding our name out there. So I hosted a lot of events with Habitat for Humanity. I was very vocal with helping out high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. I did a lot of tabling events with them. Let's see, and then I also, like I said, was involved with the Shackathon event, and as much as I was able to do this year as community outreach, which was a lot, going back and forth with a lot of schools, doing STEM activities, the SHIP Junior. Yeah, those were like the best and the most that I did this year. Eric, I don't know if you have any other ideas for other community outreach events that I didn't already mention.
Yeah, I know something we tried differently this year was collaborating with different nonprofit organizations in the area, since I think like the main one is like Isla and Juntos NC, which which is like nonprofit organization in North Carolina that provides to try to advocate for more higher education for Latino or Hispanic students, and like from middle school to high school, trying to go for post-secondary education. So we did a lot of collaboration. I know we went to some of their like family night events. We talked to the parents. We talk in Spanish. Kind of tell like, hey, this is what college is like. This is what the myth. This is the reality, and this is how you can help educate and support your student at the end of the day.
Yeah, we hosted two campus tours on our campus. We actually had a bus come with all the high school students, and we gave them directly to the high school students. And we also offered one to Isla, and the parents and their students, their sons and daughters, came to the campus, and we gave them a tour of the whole College of Engineering as well. And we also hosted the Dia de Ciencias with Equipando Padres, which was also new this year, where we did a whole day of science and invited company representatives, and we invited high school students to come out and do STEM activities, while we also did a workshop for the parents, letting them know like the importance of college, how to apply, and we gave them the resources that they could use.
That's really great. Thank you so much. The next question I have, I think, is really, really important when it comes to elections and transitioning. So what does the process of passing down all the information to the new board members work for you?
So we have something called the transition binder, and we have a Google document, and it walks us through certain steps for us to make sure we give all the information that we collected throughout the entire year for a new e-board member. Some of that is like the people you've contacted throughout the year. For my example, like high school advisors, the nonprofit organizations that I was communicating with. So I added their name and their email address, so they had that. And I actually created an email letting them all know that I was switching positions, and this was the new person, the point of contact for them to reach out, so that they understood the schools were like on board with our transition as well, and they were kept updated with that as well. We also include like Excel sheets. For me, I had Excel sheets of all the students who participated in my events, so I kept track of our members that way. I also had an Excel sheet of all the STEM activities that I did. And I put what the activity name was, all the materials, how much it costs, any notes that I had if it was a success, or things that I would change for my following community outreach year, so it was easier for them. I really tried to make sure that all the advice and all the information I gave to my new e-board member was like their floor, so they could like rise. The point with the transition is that we really want to elevate them next year and make it even smoother, and pass on any advice that we have. Eric, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think like Angie mentioned, like when you do transition, the traditional binder, you can find it on the SHIP website. They have like a sort of template, and you can use that. That's what we used. I know when I did transition with Angie, I did that, but I also did like a PowerPoint of like, all right, this is what you know. This is what you need to know about SHIP National. This is what you got to know about regionals, other chapters, and then specifically more on campus, like what do you need to know about the university level. Because especially with higher position like vice president or president, you need to be more informed. So I kind of gave her like more information about, all right, these are the people you need to contact. And as well, like ideally when you do elections, you need to do it by every year. It's always the same. So it's by April 15th. The reason why I emphasize that a lot is because SHIP National needs to know. So that way they can send you the right information so that for the new e-board to fill out. Same thing with the regional team, right? So that way they can add you to specific chats, and you can communicate well with the regional team for the next upcoming school year. And overall have a strong momentum, because information can be lost easily if you don't do transitions or gatekeep, right? The point of it is that we want to improve every year. We want to keep on doing what we do well for each chapter, but we also want to add on top of that and then keep on the cycle. That's kind of like the main point of we emphasize transition early on, and if so, try to do it in person as much as we can. If not, just online, but at least get to the point.
Definitely. Thank you. And I have another question coming in, which says, have you ever had a situation where maybe one of your board members weren't doing their part in their position? If so, how do you address it?
I'll give this one to Eric.
Yeah, it's actually funny because this happened to me. I think this happened to me 2 years ago when I was the first on e-board. We had someone that didn't do their job. I think like you gotta have a conversation with the individual. Just understand like what's going on in their mindset. If they're struggling academically, if it's something going on personally, just have that conversation and work with them rather than just accuse them or blame it on them. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to help each other out. And if it's too much for them to handle, then have that conversation of like, hey, maybe you should step back if it's getting out of hand, right? Just because we're trying to look out for each other at the end of the day, and we don't want to pour more stress on that individual if they're not doing well. And I think that's part of the conversation, because we're adults, right? Like, in the university as well. Like, as long as you communicate with them and they tell you exactly what's going on, then I think we will get straight to the point. But if not, then there's certain procedures that we have to go through. So like, if they're not doing their job, like, and we tell them multiple times, like, hey, like, what's going on? Porque no estás echándole ganas, right? We have to remind them many times. Then there's form procedure of like involuntary step down or impeachment. So that's only like last case scenario, but ideally you do want to know like what's going on before you go to different procedures.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. I think having those conversations with, members or someone who may not be doing their job to like the best of their ability, could be because of other reasons, maybe something's going on in their life or something. So I think it's really important to have that conversation before making any other decisions. So I have another question. Elections can be tricky to coordinate, especially with everyone's schedule varying. What would you recommend to be proactive and avoid potential challenges that come with trying to get everyone in the same room?
So something that we do early on throughout the spring semester is that we have an open e-board meeting and then an interest meeting. So our interest meeting is us basically having a presentation, and all the e-board members kind of put through their own slide, letting everyone know what their responsibilities are. The audience is allowed to ask questions and get an advice, make sure that they have a good idea of what it feels to have that position. And then our open e-board meeting is that we allow our members to come in, sit in one of our e-board meetings so they can have a feel what it's like to be in one, and they can kind of like see and kind of try to put together if they see themselves doing that with their following schedule for the fall semester. And then we try to really basically try to spread it out throughout the spring semester so it doesn't seem like a lot, because we know that finals are coming up and people are trying to graduate. And then when it comes to elections, we give everyone like a good month in advance notice, let them know when the application is due. Like we give 2 weeks for them to fill that out. We also give them time to prepare for their presentation that they have to give. And we try to keep it very minimal, like at one day for presentations, you have 5 minutes to present, so we're not wasting everyone's time. We also make sure that when people are presenting, it's over Zoom, so if you can't attend in person, you can watch it virtually. And it's recorded, so if you can't even attend at all, like you can go back and watch these videos when you do have time. So we're very flexible and are mindful that it's a very stressful end of the year. And then when it comes to voting, we keep it open for maybe 1 to 2 days for them to vote, and then we announce it. So we try to be very flexible and open-minded that it gets very busy. And so we just try to plan ahead and spread things out so it's not a lot all at once.
Thank you. And I have another question. So I think this can be applicable to maybe other committees that you guys have, but do any like committees maybe like outreach improve the succession of officers so that the turnover of officers on the e-board is less because you give that like community feeling and you involve more people?
Eric, do you want to talk about our 2 committees that we have?
Yeah, so this year we added 2 new committees. I know each have to work differently, so we have 2 committees now. So we have one specifically for Shiptinas, because we want to advocate more Shiptina representation. So we try to have at least 2 Shiptina events per month. That's kind of like the main goal, and at least have one big Shiptina event per semester. And then we have a graphic committee, just because we want to improve our social media presence a lot more, be a little bit more consistent. So we have people helping out with our webmaster or social media person in charge, so that way we can hit both demographics, so like Instagram, Facebook, and as well on LinkedIn, so that way we're up to date with certain information. And it's pretty cool just because like one, it gives more members like different ways to be involved rather than being part of the e-board, because I know it's a lot of work. Committees, whatever you put into it is what you gain out of it. And I know a lot of our committees were putting a lot of work into it. They're like, no, I want this event. I know for Shiptinas, we did this in the spring. So we did a collaboration event with other SHIP chapters, so like Duke University, Unity Chapel Hill, A&T, Charlotte, and do like a Shiptina summit. So we have all the Shiptinas in one area on a Saturday on our campus, and they kind of have like women empowerment like workshops, and they had kind of have like guest speakers like, hey, this is what representation of women in STEM is. So that was all hosted by our Shiptina committee, which big shout out to them. That's because they brought in the passion. They wanted something this to happen. All right, whatever you ask, on behalf of the e-board, we'll give you those resources, and then we'll just help them out as much as we can. So it kind of works both ways.
Thank you. So I think we have 5 minutes left for our session. So I think we'll have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. And my next question is really important. So what are a couple of strategies that your chapter has used to introduce the idea to run for an e-board position? And I think timing is really important during elections. So what is the best timing to implement this?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think I'll emphasize this, and we did have to put this in our constitution just so that way, one, we do it way before final hits. 'Cause I know like April tends to be like final / people want to graduate. So typically you want to do it before I think a good range would be mid-February to like end of March / early April. Just do it before the 15th of April because that's when Shift National will emphasize it like, hey, please update the roster for the new e-board. So that way you can do transition beforehand, and then summer hits, and then y'all just go on your own. So that's kind of like the best way we do that. And like Angie said, we have events tailored to that even before, like ahead of time as well.
And then a couple of strategies I can think of that we use is that, from very early on the fall semester, we try to really implement that familia aspect, right? So we make sure that our current e-board, is reaching out to new members. If we see someone who is, sitting by themselves, we sit next to them. We make sure to remember everyone's name and a fun fact about them, so everyone feels like seen and heard, right? And that this creates like that familia aspect, and people want to be a part of that, just creating that welcoming environment. And then we also have like e-board bondings each month, which is kind of cool. And we like posted pictures of us hanging out with one another, like either in a group, all of us, or we just do one-on-one. Each week we meet with one of our different e-board members, and we just get lunch and we connect and we really meet one another. And it just creates like that, I guess, like that welcoming and that familia aspect. So just things like that really pique interest in our members to want to have a leadership position like that, and work together to make SHIP even better.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's really important. Having those one-on-one conversations with members is really important. But that brings us to the end of our session. We do have a survey. Please make sure to fill out that survey. It's going to be on the right under, I think it's like the last box that's survey. There were a lot of great questions that I did see, and we didn't have enough time to answer them, but they will get answered. So hopefully you stay tuned for that. And I'm excited to see you all at the President Summit if you guys are going to attend the President Summit. And I really appreciate having Eric and Angie here on the session, giving us wealth of knowledge from their chapter. So thank you so much.